Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and this is the SITREP for the day of 4 to 7 for the 18 to 21 April for the Third Sudan Civil War. And I also want to wish all Muslims Eid Mubarak or Selamat Hari Raya Aidilfitri. So let's start off with the main focus in Khartoum. In Khartoum, there's a lot of changes that the things is very confusing in Sudan, so I'm gonna try to make it as simple as possible for you. So in Khartoum, previously there was we wrote that we draw that the forces here, this area is controlled by the National Army, the Armed Forces of Sudan, or the Junta Forces, or SAF. So for convenience sake, I'm just going to call them SAF from now on. Although I don't really like to call them that because that also is Singapore Armed Forces. So anyway, despite the control over here, there is fighting reported on the West Omdurman. This happened on the 20th of April. And this actually is very confusing because if the forces actually have front line around here, then how did the rebel forces, the RSF, able to arrive in this area here? And that's why I deleted the entire area here, because it doesn't seem to be very indicative of what is happening. On top of that, in the northwest, there is this allegation by the SAF claiming that the RSF has attacked this prison over here. So there is this prison, the Huda prison, Huda Omdurman prison, and allegedly has released a large number of inmates. And on top of that, they also mentioned about the thousands of military uniforms being found in the camp, saying that the rebels might exploit uniforms to loot or whatever, to act as if they are part of the armed forces. So but this could also be misinformation. So I just want to let you know this thing was being mentioned. And then RSF is very interesting. They always seems to be responding to every single claim. So the RSF denied the allegation of the attack on the prison and about releasing inmates. So the entire situation here is unknown. And again, similarly, the fighting seems to be right here and there, because we have the front line supposed to be here, but somehow there is an attack here. So anyway, then there was also mention of airstrike, of reinforcement, RSF reinforcement going towards Khartoum, and so I clicked the wrong one. So it's this one. So there's airstrike reported along the Bara Road, and along Challenge Road. Challenge Road is actually here. So these two roads were attacked by airstrikes from the SAF, and they hit the RSF convoy. Reportedly, 100 fully equipped vehicles has been destroyed. So sounds very exaggerating. It feels a little exaggerating. So the entire road, as they are trying to travel down, and also the road up, they got struck by the airstrikes. So this happened, and so anyway, just want to also, I'm just reporting. So I'm not saying that all these reports, all these things that is mentioned, like this is mentioned by the SAF official Facebook account. I cannot tell if it actually happened. So this is just reporting. These are just all intelligence. There's a armed forces aircraft shot down over El Nisor camp, which is actually here. There's a military camp over here, and it got shot down by the RSF. This is reported by the RSF official Twitter account. And within the city itself, there is fighting reported at the broadcasting station on the 20th. In the north, the RSF forces managed to expand their control outwards. However, this push is now being pushed back by the armed forces of Sudan. SAF actually have presence being reported in the Kafori district, as well as at the Shambat district. So this is reported by New Sudan 211. I think it's like a social media news thingy on Facebook. And however, the information here about the Shambat presence is actually geolocated by Chris759, my favorite geolocator, and he shared this on Twitter. And this he geolocated based on a video of the armed forces moving down this road, and this actually confirms that the presence of some sort of a more clear front line around in Khartoum North. And then so the fact that there is this presence over here as well, which is similar information as this one, corroborated by this information, suggests that there is also probably some kind of a stable front line that is developing within Khartoum North. The fact that there is actually claims by the RSF side that the SAF conducted airstrike on their position. There's some kind of a medical department getting airstrike, which then was immediately disclaimed by the SAF. The SAF say that that the Shambat camp belongs to the military police and there's no medical facilities over there. And so this claim that this is just fake news. So which suggests that there is actually indeed some kind of a presence of the RSF forces over there. There's also RSF presence be reported at the Bari Sika Street because the SAF, the Sudanese Armed Forces, reported that the rebels or the militias attacked a warehouse belonging to the Red Crescent on the Bari Sika Street, which is actually this street over here. This is the Bari Sika Street, and probably the mentioned Red Crescent warehouse is probably around this area here. So it's unclear which is the area, but which then shows that there is RSF presence in this area. So this helps us to establish certain kind of the front line in Khartoum North. In the center of Khartoum is where the fiercest fighting in Sudan is currently happening. Major fighting is being reported around the General Command. The General Command is this. You can see that the General Command, the General Command of the Sudanese Armed Forces. They have the Air Force HQ as well and the Navy HQ. So this entire area is the Sudanese military hub. All the HQs are here, and currently the fiercest fighting is currently ongoing. I believe the armed forces of Sudan actually managed to cross over, probably from the west and the north, and they are actually attacking and trying to capture and control this entire area here. And this is actually corroborated because there is information, actually not corroborated, corroborated by themselves, by their own news, that the armed forces of Sudan actually went to evacuate students from the University of Khartoum, and they have videos to show this. So this is actually corroborated in that sense on the 18th of April, which means on the 18th of April there is already some kind of presence of the SAF around this area as they continue to try to recapture the General Command. The fighting continued to be reported on the 20th of April, and on the 21st of April, the Armed Forces of Sudan confirmed on their Facebook page that they have fully captured the General Command area. So that means the entire military district here has been fully captured by the SAF, and then however, fighting is still ongoing despite this capture on the 22nd, which is currently in the latest news coming reported by Al Jazeera. There is still fighting within the area of the General Command. So which means that the RSF forces is not going to give up this position anytime soon. So heavy fighting is still ongoing in this area here, and so this is where the heaviest fighting in Sudan is currently happening. There are tanks being used heavy equipment being used, as there is one of this viral video of this tank backing up into a military transport, and then the cut of the videos then shows the tank was destroyed. That is actually geolocated at this position by Chris also. So which means this is actually around where the front line is likely to be. So this is where the fighting is actually ongoing between the two forces. So that means this area here is definitely going to be very in flux, where the forces is going to be changing hand very, very often. Then there is also information, there is also video showing the SAF on their official Facebook page that they have captured the Khartoum airport. So on top of this general command area that the SAF have controlled, they also managed to attack and retake the international airport region. So there is not much fighting being reported at the airport region, so it's hard to tell what's the situation here. And then there is fighting reported in the latest information at the presidential palace, according to Al Jazeera, which means because this area here was somewhat seems to be controlled by the armed forces of Sudan, because on the 19th of April, the Sudanese Armed Forces Facebook page actually reported that there is a robbing of the Central Bank of Sudan, and then they actually gave chase against the rebel forces. So which means that there is this push, very quick push to try to control this area in the western part of the central Khartoum. So that's why there's this the border actually stretched all the way to this place, and which means that there is some kind of a control by the armed forces around this area here. So the fighting at the presidential palace do corroborates this information, which means that the RSF forces is trying to retake this area that they have lost a few days ago. So and then there is also presence of RSF forces being reported as the Dahab building in the Arab market has been attacked by the RSF forces. So this also shows that there is RSF location positions over here, which means the front line is pretty much quite clear in the central Khartoum, which means this is actually where the front line seems to be. So the fighting is still ongoing, definitely on this area here, and more presence of the RSF forces being reported over here in the Saha hospital on the 21st, which reportedly has been attacked, and then they expelled the patients from the hospital. I'm really not too sure what's the purpose of attacking hospitals and getting patients away, because this kind of attack and evacuating or ejecting all the patients has been reported from the first day of this war. So it's very awkward, I would say. And there's also RSF presence in the Gabra district. This is reported by the Sudan, the RSF official Twitter account. They confronted some forces coming from the SAF side. However, I'm not too sure exactly where the fighting is, and it could be some advanced party that is trying to establish where the RSF positions are, and they contacted the RSF forces somewhere within the Gabra region. There is also presence reported on the road leading to the Soba Bridge. This is the Soba Bridge. There's a lot of noodles around here, Japanese noodles. It's very nice, soba. And then there's also presence reported on the road leading up to the El Kamlin region. El Kamlin region is actually the entire region around here. So the road leading southwards is seems to be entirely controlled by the RSF forces, and there is also geolocation by Chris 759 of the RSF forces at this position here. So this clearly shows that the entire southern part of Khartoum, including this base that we previously reported that they have captured, the Jubel Aulia air base or military base, that means this entire area is actually controlled by the RSF. And so what does this mean? This means that their map actually looks like a person with a small little hand, and then with legs, and it's walking forward. And this also shows that the camera angle is coming from the bottom up, so it's very dynamic kind of photo taking. And so other than that, we have some other very weird situations. So there's this on and off ceasefire propositions that is proposed, agreed upon, and then totally ignored. So there is, on the 18th, there is this 24-hour ceasefire proposed by the United States, and then the RSF say, okay, let's do it. And the SAF claimed that this thing does not exist. They never heard of this before. Like they deny that this actually even was agreed upon. Then after that, on the 19th, the next day, there is this agreement for a 24-hour truce. So maybe they mixed up the timing, the days. No, I do not know. And then this was also entirely totally ignored. They continue to fight. And so other than that, there was this information coming from the 20th of April. The SAF announced that the border guard forces will now be going under the command of the Sudanese Armed Forces. The reason is because previously they have this presidential decree in 2017 that puts the border guard forces to be part of the Rapid Support Force, the RSF. So now they're going to revoke this entire law, so that the border guard forces comes under the Sudanese Armed Forces. So I'm not sure how would the border guards actually react. I think they will be really confused. Like know what? They are now ordered by the enemy to join the enemy side. I have no idea. So the situation now, so you can see the central area here, the capital area here is very heavily fought over. So there's a north and south split around here. However, in the rest of the country, the entire eastern part of Sudan, this entire area is pretty much secured by the SAF, the Sudanese Armed Forces. And there is also presence and control over at Damazin. This is confirmed because they have their general addressing a mass march or protest. No, I'm not even sure if you call it protest. It's more like a rally, or in support of the armed forces. So this actually confirms secured presence, as per we have reported in the previous few SITREPs, that the entire area here is very controlled, pretty much very safe under the armed forces control. So the biggest fighting actually is in the Darfur region. Darfur is actually the most sad region in Sudan, because this is the place where they have endless wars and conflict, and partly also due to the RSF, and this is also where the stronghold of the RSF is. So this is also where the fighting seems to be rather fierce, because the RSF is actually fighting for control in this area here. Going to Junaynah first. In Junaynah, there is information further information coming from Dongola, Sudan. The radio channel, they reported based on the information from their listeners. The city itself is actually controlled by the armed forces, and the RSF actually controls the airport region. So this actually makes it a bit clear. However, I suspect that there might be RSF presence in the eastern bank of the river, rather than just only on the airport side. So the situation here is very tense. There's no fighting yet, and not yet, but no, the fighting has been over. So currently there's calmness. And over at Nyala is actually also a bit confusing. If you just read it yourself, you'll see that both sides seems to claim control over Nyala. So what I established, it seems like the SAF forces actually captured a camp, a HQ of the RSF. I'm not fully sure exactly where the camp is. I suspect it's this one. There's a major camp, military camp of sort, or they call it a super camp. I do not know if this is actually a military camp, but yeah, it's a camp. So probably they are there. However, the city itself is still largely under control of the RSF, as there is presence being reported at the Nyala Airport, at the this district called the Mauja, as well as a district in the north called the Riyadh. So with these three presence, it shows that the RSF actually have a pretty strong control over the city of Nyala. And this also corroborates with, because there's a correspondent of the Dongola Sudan say that there is intermittent exchange of fire of heavy weapons in the northern part of the city, which actually does corroborates that the possibility of this camp is actually under the SF control, and they are actually trying to push towards Nyala from the north. And this caused the fighting happens within the northern part. So this could be actually be what is happening. So this is a situation over at Nyala. And further up north at Fashir, the situation here is quite similar as well. There is this claim of the armed forces capturing the camps of the RSF, which I believe is another super camp. So it's another this camp here. I don't know why they call it a super camp. Like, yeah, okay, I shall not judge. And then fighting is being reported at Fashir on the 19th. So the capture is reported on the 18th. But then on the 19th, so at first I thought that they captured the entire city. Because if you capture the HQ, maybe you capture the city, like some computer games. So it doesn't work that way. So there's still fighting reported at Fashir on the 19th, and on the 20th, the same. There is some kind of peace and quiet with sporadic clashes, which still means fighting. So there is still fighting, but then there is a lot of reports of plundering. So this plundering is not necessarily by the RSF, but there are also criminals and civilians that are taking advantage of the situation, trying to make a buck. So according to some information from the ground is that certain type of goods, for example clothing and shoes, become very cheap because due to the looting. So the people who looted sell things at below market price or sell it very cheap. As a result, price actually dropped. So kind of weird. So this is the situation over at Darfur. Moving to the southern side, in the southern front of Sudan, there's the main fighting is only being reported at LOB. And at LOB, first on the 18th, the fighting is actually reported from the west, on the west of LOB. This is reported by the Sudanese Armed Forces. And so the RSF is attacking towards the eastward from the west, and they were probably stopped, probably. But then however, on yesterday's report coming from Dongola Sudan, like I said, this is actually by the SAF, and then SAF never mentioned about LOB anymore because their lines was broken through. Fighting is now in the center of LOB, as reports coming from the ground, from information from their listeners, actually reported that the fighting is actually in the center. Police stations were attacked. There is a fighting within the Grand Market, at the teaching hospital, and also all these regions. So and also at the football stadium region. So it's definitely well in the center region. Fighting is inside. Where the front line is kind of unclear, but it seems like the entire line that was protecting the entrance was broken through. So the RSF is now inside. So the thing about the RSF is that they are not a full army. They are more like a militia. So as a result, they don't really have the kind of heavy weapons and air force to compete with the armed forces. So as a result, their tactic seems to be pretty much hit and run, and they don't really hold positions. So it's kind of confusing, whether they actually hold any ground. So that's why I'm trying my best to try to see whether I can map it in a way that it makes sense. So moving into the northern front, and the northern front, the Merowe Airport that is famously captured by the RSF forces. This is actually entirely captured by the SAF. So the SAF has recaptured Merowe Airport, and they have videos to show for it. And but this capture is actually done without fighting. The RSF forces actually withdrew from this area here as the SAF forces came in without a fight. I'm not sure exactly where they went to. However, interestingly, the Egyptian forces that was so-called captured by the RSF has been evacuated from the Dongola Airport. And this is, I first read this on the SAF Facebook page. So they mentioned as if that they are the one that handed over the Egyptian soldiers to the Egyptian Air Force. So the Egyptian Air Force sent 4 planes over to evacuate the 177 Egyptian troops. So at the Dongola, so you can see that it's a bit of a distance between these two. It's 160 kilometers, so maybe a 2-hour, 3-hour, 4-hour, 5-hour drive, depending on the road condition. And RSF, then I saw on Twitter that RSF actually claims that they are the one who handed over the Egyptian troops. And so they say that they handed over to the International Red Cross, and they are insistent that they actually have control over these soldiers from the 15th to the 20th of April. I'm not sure why they have to emphasize this. And so they handed over to the Red Cross, and then probably the Red Cross handed them over to the Egyptian. I'm not sure. It's kind of a bizarre kind of a situation. And so on top of that, I just want to say that the RSF Twitter account is very unusual. It doesn't feel very normal. It feels very PR-ish. It reminds me of a lot of these accounts, like the white helmets, or the Azov battalion, the kind of Twitter account. So yeah, that's just my feeling. And then the on the northwestern part of the border area, the armed forces of Sudan reportedly captured this base called the Chevrolet base along the northwest border. I have no idea exactly where, because it looks just desert. You see, there's even this supposed mosque or something doesn't exist on the satellite actually. So I no idea where exactly this capture is. So they say that this actually is a supply line to the enemy, and then this comes very interesting. I was like, northwest Libya is a supply line to the RSF, and then it was actually then corroborated in some way or form. So the Libyan National Army, the LNA, one of the factions within Libya, is actually supporting the RSF. So according to the report from Middle East Eye, also by Wall Street Journal, they claim that the RSF is receiving support from the Libyan military leader Khalifa Haftar, and then as far as their sources that seems to know this information about this, the Libyan National Army that controls the eastern Libya has at least sent 1 plane full of military supplies to RSF. So, and then so according to two other sources that they say that 2 planes have taken off from Kufra. So Kufra is actually this small little town. Actually, not town. This actually looks a bit big. This city of Kufra, that looks very black. There's a lot of black, dirty place. Or it's not dirty place. This is actually trees. I'm sorry. Yeah. Then so from this airport, they at least witnessed 2 aircraft take off from Kufra, and in the southeastern Libya's this another place, Cyrenaica, and landed in the Sudanese territory controlled by the RSF. So this is very interesting that we have the first confirmed external party that is supporting supporting the RSF, or at least one of the sites. So so anyway, this is the SITREP for the day of 4 to 7 for the 18th to the 21st of April. And do press the like button, subscribe if you are new to this channel, and if you want to continue to continue to report on Sudan, the SITREP, do let me know in the comments. You have to encourage me to continue, because this is a lot of additional work. And I'll see you in the next update.